Alright guys, these are going to be the answers to Chapter 2's AP free response question in which I gave you. Please try to do the prompts before you watch this, and I'm going to give you some insights on how they actually grade these, and I hope you learned something. Alright, so let's take a look at this beast. Get my fancy dancy highlighter here. So speed is measured by the distance to run the 40-meter dash. We have a mean of 4.6, a minimum of 4.4, and standard deviation of 0.15. Now, do you think that this is going to be approximately normal? All right. Again, you should have already tried this one. If not, you can always pause it. See the answer. So the answer is no. It is not it is not reasonable to believe that. And that's because, think about this. The minimum, try to use a mouse here. I'm going to see how it goes. The minimum, well, think about this. If it was a normal curve, all right, this is donezo. I'm just going to use this. If this was a normal curve, you'd have your 4.6 here, and then you'd go over, what was our standard deviation? 0.15. So this would be 4.75. This would be 4.9, right? And if we went the other way, yeah, this would be 4.45, right? Yeah. And this would be 4.3, ... So you'd anticipate if your minimum is about right here, if this is your min, it means that all your data is on this side of the min. All right, so right away, you know there's a significant amount of data that should be on the left side of that, but there isn't because your minimum is 4.4. If you got to get really technical, you would say that you find the z-score, and you say, well, the min is only 1.33 standard deviations below the mean, which you should be getting that to be like 4 or 5. Don't quote me on that one. Some people even on this one to say no did normal CDF. You could went normal CDF from negative 9999999 to 4.4. Then you put your mean and standard deviation in, and you got this 9.2% of the Z of data should fall below 4.4, and that's significant. And it doesn't. And because it doesn't, it is not normally distributed. Okay, here's an explanation there as well. So here's how you'd score it. Sorry if you're using your phone. It's an E, essentially correct if the answer is no. If you said no, and you provide reasonable explanation. So you could have done that by talking about it's not plausible that there has to be some high numbers like 5.5s and such. You could have done the 9.2% thing. You could have just talked about how many standard deviations it was below, and the min doesn't work. Now partial would be you said no. You didn't explain it very well. You said no because it doesn't look normal. And you say no with no explanation or it's unreasonable. Okay? Or you didn't support why. Let's go to part B. Strength, mean, 310. That's my warm-up sets. No, it's not. What lift is this? Well, if it's deadlift, then yes, I'm very good at this. So let's find the z-score of someone who can lift 370. Okay? Just gonna read it. That's the mean, standard deviation. Let's find the z-score and interpret it. So the z-score, you take your actual minus mean over standard deviation, and we got 2.4. That indicates that lifter can lift, or is 2.4 standard deviations above the mean for all previous players. All right, one's really straightforward. How do you grade it though? You get an E if you get the right z-score, and you say that they're 2.4 standard deviations above previous lifters. You get partial if you get one of the two, and I if you don't get either. Okay. Don't forget, when you're finding the z-score, not only do you need to write down the z-score, but you also have to show your calculations, okay? You can read this too for other jazz. I'm just going over the basics, okay? All right, we have two players. One runs the 40 in 4.42, the other one runs in 4.57. One can lift 370, the other one can lift 375. Which of the two players do you want? All right, let's go on to the answer. Well, here's what you should have done. You should have found that. Remember, it's hard to compare data unless you find the z-scores. Okay, so the z-score for 40-yard dash. Oh, good, I made it so you can't read it. That's great. That's great. For 40-yard dash, this one is player A is 1.2 standard deviations below norm, which is really good, right? Because you want your time to be lower. This one's only 0.2, so they're almost close to the mean. But now if you go to weight lifted and you compare standard deviation, they're only 0.2 standard deviations apart, so they're both about the same strength. But the one is 1 standard deviation faster. So the correct answer is you would select player A. Okay? Because they are 1 standard deviation better at speed and only 0.2 standard deviations less in strength. Okay, so they're almost as strong, but they're a lot faster. How would we grade this beast? All right, so if you, to get an E, you had to select player A. You had to compare both the 40-yard dash and adjust the score somehow using standard deviation and z-scores, or z-scores. And then you had to justify by saying that if you looked at the adjusted scales, player A was better because they were close in strength, but he was much better in speed. Now, if you get 2 of the 3 up here, you get a P, and if you get less than 2, you get an I. So if you only had one of them up there, you only get an I. You get an I, you get no credit. Now, with this being said, you don't necessarily have to find the z-scores. You could just talked about their differences compared to standard deviation, and that would have gotten you the same answer, actually. Now, what does this all mean? Oh, there's a lot of ways you could have answered this one. Now, if you made a calculation error, like a basic miscalculation, they actually won't take away all your credit. But you have to have the work right. Okay? Now, look at this beast. They're going to grade as a 4, 3, a 2, or a 1. A 4 means you had 3 E's. Boom. A 3 means you had 2 E's and 1 P. A 3 is a really good score. A 2 is you either had 2 E's and 1 I, or you had 1 E and 2 P's, or you had 3 P's. That's still not bad, actually. Now, minimal is going to get you nowhere. That's 2 P's and 1 I, or 1 E and 2 I's. All right? Grading these is a blast. All right, I hope this helps you guys. Feel free to ask questions. Have a great day.